Today we're making chouquettes. They're basically tiny choux or cream puffs filled with vanilla crème pâtissière or pastry cream. Let's start with a quick life update first. As you can see, I'm standing in a brand new kitchen, which means I recently moved and it took me some time to finish the renovation. But I'm finally back, so let's bake. For the choux pastry dough, we need 125 grams of water, 125 grams of milk, and just mix them together in one glass or a bowl, 110 grams of butter, 5 large eggs, 145 grams of AP flour, a pinch of salt, and about a tablespoon of sugar. We don't want the pastry itself to be sweet or salty, it should have neutral taste. Now grab a large saucepan and pour in the water and milk. Next, add the salt, cubed butter, and sugar, and then start heating it. You can start with a spatula to speed up the melting process because our goal here is to melt the butter before the liquid starts boiling. Otherwise, too much liquid can evaporate and affect our final result. Once the liquid reaches a rolling boil, dump in all the flour at once, take the saucepan off the heat, and mix it really well to ensure there are no raw flour lumps. Everything should form a blob of dough. Now return the saucepan to the heat and start drying out the dough until you see a thin crust forming on the bottom of the saucepan. This step is extremely important because we need to make sure that all the flour has fully cooked once it's added to the boiling liquid. And also we want to evaporate enough moisture from the dough so that it's ready to absorb all the eggs we'll add shortly. Once you reach that point, transfer all the dough into the bowl of a stand mixer or just a regular bowl and start stirring it to cool the dough before adding the eggs. I usually wait until it stops steaming, which means it's cool enough not to cook the eggs. Adding the eggs is the tricky part of any choux pastry recipe. You absolutely cannot rush this process, and you have to stop at the exact moment when the dough is ready. You might not use all the eggs, or you might need more than you have, so be careful. Add the first egg and wait until the dough becomes homogeneous again. Just keep adding eggs until just one egg is left. However, after each egg, the dough will split into lumps at first and then it will come back together as you continue mixing. Avoid adding too much egg at once because the dough will not come together and it will stay lumpy. It's basically the same principle as making an emulsion. You can use a hand mixer or even just a spatula for this, but it will definitely take more effort. Now we've incorporated 4 eggs, so let's take the last one and break it into a small bowl. Mix it together there, but do not add the entire egg right away. We need to add it slowly, about a teaspoon at a time, waiting until it's fully mixed after each addition. We need to judge the dough's consistency after each addition. Our goal is to stop at the moment when the dough drops from the spatula or the leaf attachment and leaves a kind of triangle-shaped beak hanging from it. It shouldn't tear immediately, but rather leave a longer beak hanging. The dough will be shiny and smooth, will not be liquid, will not be pouring off the spatula in one flow. Once you reach that point, stop adding the egg and mix the dough for another 3-4 minutes to develop more gluten. This will basically help our pastries rise better in the oven. Now the dough is ready, and I totally forgot to tell you to preheat the oven to 350 F or 180 C, so please do it right now. Next, grab a piping bag and a 1 centimeter plain piping tip. Make sure you don't forget to put the tip inside the bag before filling it. I like using a tall glass or cup to hold the bag, but you can just hold the bag in one hand and fill it with a spatula in the other. Scrape the dough towards the nozzle to minimize any waste, and then finally cut off the tip of the bag. Make sure you throw that little piece in garbage because those tips have a funny way of ending up in a final product if you're not careful. Grab a tray and a piece of parchment paper or a silicone mat works too. If you're using parchment paper, pipe a tiny amount of dough onto the tray to act as a glue so that the paper stays in place. Now, here's the last ingredient that we need for the shells: pearl sugar. This is what makes chouquettes basically. It doesn't melt in the oven and adds both some sweetness and a very nice crunch. Pipe small circles about 3 to 4 centimeters in diameter. I had enough dough for 2 trays, and once you're done, be generous and sprinkle pearl sugar over the pastries. Remove any leftover sugar on the tray because it can burn. I like to shake the tray a bit so the sugar sticks to the pastries as much as possible. Bake the chouquettes for about 35 minutes, checking on them time to time. While they're in the oven, it is a perfect time to make the filling. For the filling, we need 4 egg yolks, which is about 80 grams. I always separate eggs using my hands because I find it way easier and safer. Just make sure to wash your hands well and often. Then add 40 grams of sugar right to the yolks and start mixing right away. Sugar can actually burn egg yolks if it sits for too long, and once that happens, you'll get those really unpleasant little cooked bits that are hard to fix. Next, add 45 grams of all-purpose flour and mix it in, trying to avoid lumps. No need to go crazy whisking here, we're just hoping to combine everything smoothly. Now, grab a large saucepan and pour in 500 grams of whole milk. Add either half a vanilla bean or about 1 tablespoon of vanilla paste, I'm using the paste here, and start heating the milk until it just comes to a boil. Once it's hot, pour a bit of the milk into the egg mixture and mix it really well right away. This will help to prevent the eggs from cooking too quickly. Then pour the whole thing back into the saucepan with the rest of the milk and switch to a whisk. Whisk vigorously, and I mean really whisk, rubbing any lumps against the sides of the pan to break them up. Now bring it back to a boil and let it cook for about a minute while you keep whisking non-stop. When it's done, pour the cream into a shallow dish or a container, place some plastic wrap directly on the surface, it will prevent the skin from forming, and pop it into the fridge for about 3 to 4 hours. It needs to cool down completely and set. Meanwhile, our chouquettes are ready. The pearl sugar stayed on perfectly, they're nice golden brown, and they're super light, which means they're baked just right. They're hollow inside and no leftover moisture. Now it's time to fill our cream puffs. Grab a piping bag with a small round nozzle. If you've got one of those special shoe fill-in tips that look like a needle, those work great too. Beat the cream a little bit with a spatula or a whisk, but do not over mix it because it will become too loose. We just want to soften it up a little bit. I always poke holes in all the pastries first before starting filling because it just makes things go faster and smoother. Once filled, a cream puff should feel really heavy. That's how you know it's got enough cream in it. You can't really see what's happening inside while you're filling, so the weight is really your best clue. And we're finally done. As you can see, these are such an amazing dessert, and the recipe is actually pretty simple and straightforward. I know that choux pastry can seem intimidating at first, but trust me, it's really simple. If we cut one open, you'll see how packed they are with cream. The filling is super smooth and creamy, it's rich but not overly sweet, and the crunchy pearl sugar on the outside really takes it to the next level, both in flavor and texture. I totally recommend giving this a try, whether it's with your family, friends, or just to treat yourself. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe.